especially is we have seen during last couple of months a lot of negative publicity is going around Port of Colombo, about Port of Colombo. And we wanted to come to media and explain this thing as what it is. And time to time, we have been correcting whenever the news report goes, especially in web media and some of the local medias. And thankfully, all the local media friends, journalists, were correcting most of this information whenever we send the correct information and correction to them, or the request of correction. But we have seen in some of the websites which represent the maritime community, publishing of our reply or the correction is not happening. And you know, in social media, these type of web feeds are going rounds and rounds, and it looks like that every day there's an issue. What we wanted to come and tell, as Port of Colombo, where we stand as of now, and how resilient we are, and how much that we are prevented, or there's no connectivity with what is going on outside our boundaries. Precisely, whatever the things which are happening inside the country has very limited effect on port-related activities. That is the main thing that we wanted to tell. Because we have come up with the long-standing mechanisms to prevent our workers are not coming to work. Like whenever there is an issue of transportation, there are buses that we have put. We started this thing long time back during the COVID period. Our own transportation mechanism goes and pick all the employees who are supposed to come to a particular shift. And similarly, SAGT and CICT also does this similar type of mechanism. In that case, whatever going outside, the issues with the buses, issues with the transportation, have very limited effect on us. And similarly, we have created some shifts mechanism where our workers could stay for a longer period and complete their work and go on. Then the unwanted time waste of traveling and shift changing also we have reduced. And Port of Colombo is having a couple of fuel storage tanks, which we maintain adequate fuel for the port-related functions. And the same fuel storage tanks we use sometimes to give fuel to our employees for their motorbikes and all when they wanted to go out. And we have an arrangement with our employees to give this fuel to them. And similarly, for interterminal trucking and for the port-related machineries, we have sufficient stocks in place with buffer stocks to operate as a normal day. Then, as a contingency, we have got necessary approvals in case if we want additional fuel to use the bunker license holders' fuel, which is stored in one of our own storage capacity called JCT Oil Bank, to utilize in case of an emergency. That is a contingency which we have never used. That is also available. Now, cutting short the long story, what I have to mention is that as Port of Colombo, we are having a very coherent and very thoughtful plan, and we are very resilient. Our transshipment handling and release of local cargo is happening as per the procedures and standards and the KPIs. And at the moment, we don't have any issue inside Port of Colombo. And I would like my colleagues from private terminals also, as well as the chairperson of CASA also, to tell few words to you all. Then you could start asking whatever the questions that you want, and we all will be here to answer. Thank you.
As the chairman said, over the past possibly 8 to 12 weeks, in tandem with the economic and political issues that the country has faced, we have seen an increasing rise in so-called port-related publicity, which have really picked on a couple of incidents and have endeavored to portray the operations of the Port of Colombo in a very negative light, similar to that of what is happening outside the port. Now, the message, I think, is very clear. We did have some unfortunate incidents. In April, there were issues with interterminal transfers. There were delays that resulted in the transfer, ITT not happening on time. Those are not really due to fuel issues, because fuel was issued by all 3 terminals to the ITT supplier, and there was no shortage of fuel at any point in the port. We are a primary customer of the CPC and IOC, and we have received, at no stage has there been any shortage of diesel in the port, both for ITT as well as for operating the port equipment. The second instance was obviously on the 9th or 10th of May, where due to really some slip in communication, the port actually stopped working for a day, a little over a day. That was unfortunate. I think we have gone past that on the basis that there is a clear understanding from all the stakeholders, including the unions, the employees of all 3 terminals, and the leadership in the port, that there is nothing to be gained by paralyzing the port, not for Sri Lanka, not for the unions, not for the companies, not for the port. And that realization, we are confident, is now prevails amongst all the key stakeholders. So barring the, so this was the day and a half disruption, a little over a day. And we have seen very responsible news organizations also picking up and alluding to long apparent problems in the Port of Colombo. Now, this is completely far from the truth. In fact, in terms of volume, we are almost, if you take up to the 30th of May, which is yesterday, we are 2% above what we did during the same period last year. In terms of ships, until April, we were 5% above. In terms of the number of container ships that have called at the port, we are 2% below, so it's a difference of 8 ships less for the last 5 months. But as you will see, as you will note, given that there is more volume, there has been more volume carried on these slightly less ships. So there is no substance. I mean, it must be clear to everyone that ultimately the port operates as a transshipment hub. Whatever signal we give from here, the 85% of the volume that we handle in the port is business that has nothing to do with Sri Lanka. It is neither an import nor an export. It simply comes here on one ship and goes out on another ship. And that is the primary function of the port. So there is no question of, and if we take history going back to even the late 1990s, at every point in time, the port operations have been completely insulated by issues that the country faced. This included when there were terrorist attacks even in the port. And if we take some of the major milestones, where in 1999 SAGT came into being, that was at the height of the war at that time. And that was a big investment, $250 million investment at that time, because there was value in what we are offering as a service. If you take CICT in 2008, it came on the back of the greatest global financial crisis, and it was a 500 plus, almost $600 million investment. simply again because of the value that Colombo and Sri Lanka, the Port of Colombo, provides to global shipping lines in the context of the services that they offer. So the concern with all this negative publicity on the port in tandem with the problems that the country is facing is that we as port operators and terminal operators are concerned that this can become a self-fulfilling prophecy if everybody keeps talking about the fact that there is a problem in the port, when there is no such problem in the port, our main customers will also get unnerved by it. So we have received very clear assurances, which we have backed up with actual work of our own in terms of our fuel supply. As the chairman said, we have a complete backstop of the availability of diesel. We have also entered into discussions with the Ceylon Electricity Board in terms of the long-term power requirement of the port, and that we have received assurances that the port and airport, along with the health sector, and the CEB are priority areas for generation, for power, supply of power. And we are looking at other contingencies as well, together with the CEB, in order to mitigate any possible issues beyond a 6-month horizon. We are told reliably that there is sufficient coal for generation until October. And if we have to, as terminal operators, beyond that point, if it is necessary for us to even import our own heavy fuel oil to generate power to make sure that the port works, we are in a position to be able to do that as well. So I think the message we really like to cater, it is more of a reaction to the international press that we have been receiving because of the fact that Colombo is really an international operation. It's not a domestic operation, and the Port of Colombo, that is the role, the primary role the port plays. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I think I'm Jack. I'm from CICT. CICT, we are the only deep water terminal now in operation in South Asia. As my friends, Chairman, and also Romesh mentioned, the port, yes, in the past weeks, there was some difficulty, but I think we 3 terminals work together, and we overcome all the difficulties, and our terminal operation in the port actually recover very effectively and efficiently. So now what we are trying to use this opportunity to share with you is that now the 3 terminals, we are running smoothly, and all our employees are also working very hard to overcome whatever the challenges we're having. And we're very much confident this smooth operation can be carried continuously in the coming months. One more thing, we understand now for whatever stakeholders like the container trucks, like the consignees, shippers, they're also facing all kind of troubles. That is true. But also I think the 3 terminals under the leadership of the Port Authority were also reactive very much quickly. So whatever issues you are having, we are open. And particularly for CICT, where I'm going to let all the stakeholders know in the future, we are going to have maybe every month we'll have 1 or 2 days open day. Whatever consignees and truck operators, you are welcome to come to our terminal and to meet us. Whatever issue you can put on the table, we are ready to discuss with you to resolve the issue together. As Romesh correctly mentioned, Port of Colombo is an international hub. It's a strategic hub in this region. And I think everybody, we have the responsibility to cherish this port, to help this port to grow, because this is not only for the country, and it's very critical for this region as well. Thank you.
I represent the Shipping Agents Association. We are essentially the customers of the Port of Colombo and all the ports in Sri Lanka. We have 132 members, and we represent all the shipping lines that call at the Port of Colombo. And all our principals are confident about the operations continuing in the port, and we are thankful to the SLPA and the 2 private terminals for continuously handling all the operations in this period where the country has faced difficulties in all other areas. But the port has continued to work, and we as customers are extremely thankful for continuous operations, for power supply being guaranteed, for electricity, for manpower, for continuous operation throughout the entire period. The negative media around the region is caused by a lot of competing ports. There are other ports who will compete for the business of these shipping lines. Shipping lines always prefer to use Colombo as a transshipment hub because there are so many facilities that Colombo offers them versus other ports in the region. Even though they might be even more deep draft or more advanced, they still prefer to use Colombo. So we need to maintain that confidence of the shipping lines in the Port of Colombo and not create doubt that any of these other crises will affect the operations. So even if you look at the volumes, exports, we are 4% above last year. We have facilitated 4% more volume in exports than last year. Imports, of course, are lesser because it's a government policy to reduce imports. Transshipment volumes are the same as last year. We have done the same volumes. You will see some seasonality. There have been some media reports that month of May has a drop in volumes and vessels, but you have to understand and take that in context. There is seasonality in all areas. And if you look at some of the other ports who have suffered because of COVID, the congestion is far worse than Colombo. So the facts that have been portrayed about Port of Colombo are completely out of context. So we need to give that confidence that the management is committed to giving continuous services, and we, as a customer, we are giving our testament that we are extremely happy with the workings in the Port of Colombo. And however, might be operational issues. These are there even before this crisis period. So we are in continuous dialogue with the terminals to improve efficiency, to improve digitalization, various other aspects, but that has nothing to do with this whole period. And CASA would like to thank again the Port of Colombo for continuously working and serving the ships that call the Port of Colombo. Thanks.
කොළඹ වරාය සහ ඒට අනුබද්ධිත පුද්ගලික පර්යන්ත දෙක SAGT, CICT සහ වරාය අධිකාරියට අයත් JCT යන පර්යන්ත තුන වරාය අධිකාරියත් සමග එකතුව වරාය සම්බන්ධ සියලුම මෙහෙයුම් කටයුතු කාර්යක්ෂමව මේ මොහොතේදී කරගෙන යනු ලබනවා. දැනට ජාත්‍යන්තර මාධ්‍යවල පළවන අසත්‍ය පුවත් නිවැරදි කර ගැනීම සඳහා අප මේ මාධ්‍ය හමුව පැවැත්වීමට තීරණය කරා. ශ්‍රී ලාංකීය මාධ්‍ය වලින් අපි නිවැරදි කිරීම යවන වෙලාවේදී එම නිවැරදි කිරීම નિયમિત ආකාරයෙන් පළ කරනු ලබනවා. නමුත් සමහර ජාත්‍යන්තර මාධ්‍ය අපේ නිවැරදි කිරීම ඒ ආකාරයෙන්ම පළ කරන්නේ නැහැ. මේ කරුණ නිසා තමයි අපි තීරණය කරේ ඔබ තුමාලා ඉදිරියට ඇවිල්ලා රටට මේ කටයුත්ත පිළිබඳව දැනුවත් කරන්න. කොළඹ වරාය මේ මොහොතේදී කිසිදු අවහිරතාවයකින් තොරව transshipment කියලා අපි හඳුන්වන ප්‍රතිනවගත කිරීම සහ වරායට පැමිණෙන දේශීය බහලුම් නිෂ්කාශනය සහ අපනයනයට සම්බන්ධ බහලුම් සම්බන්ධ මෙහෙයුම් මින් පෙර සිදු වූ ආකාරයෙන්ම කාර්යක්ෂම ලෙස කරගෙන යන බවට සියලුම පර්යන්ත සහ වරාය අධිකාරියට විශ්වාසයෙන් යුතුව කියන්න පුළුවන්.
Fuel is not only for motorbikes, but also if the people are having cars, they are also being given employees fuel, right?
Yes, whenever our fuel stocks are in the right level, we entertain cars also, but we try to encourage our employees to use as much as possible the motorbike. The reason is the fuel consumption is less. We are a little cautious about our baseline of the stock, and we don't encourage to get them fuel from here, but obviously time to time we provide it.
It happens in Trinco and Gold as well, right?
Trinco and Gold, they don't have fuel stations inside, but we have other mechanisms that we have deployed in those two places. But in Port of Colombo, we have pre-fuel stations inside Port of Colombo. We utilize these things for fueling purposes.
You mentioned about throughput in May, negative 2%.
Yeah.
Is it any reason because you are 5% or 4%?
Okay, so we are still year-to-date higher. We are still 2% higher year-to-date, but that is on the back of a minor drop in May, which, although actually ship arrivals were more than year-on-year even for the month of May. But as Shehara said, there are seasonalities, and we don't see any structural change in the volumes coming over Colombo.
How did you resolve the backlog during the 1.5 days of operation in early May?
You are referring the backlog of the ship movements and all? Actually, they put a lot of effort, all the employees. I mean, it was, as Romesh mentioned, it was not intentional. But I still believe is the port employees love port because they know what port has given them. And they all work hard actually. We could see that they put extra effort and the movements were taken back to the normalcy within a very few hours time. And it was not a major disastrous this thing, and it was they all work it out.
Also, the issue with low domestic containers because of customs issues, forex issues, are you having space issues in the port, and what are you doing with that?
No, we don't have a space issue at the moment because what we did was when the domestic containers were getting little accumulated, we started to utilize one of our earlier terminal yards called UCT terminal yard. And that UCT terminal yard is completely handling, as of now, the local deliveries which are going to the country. Now, that created a lot of space inside JCT terminal, and because of that, at the moment, we don't have any congestion or anything like that. But again, when we go through the numbers daily basis, how many number of containers are inside port as domestic containers. We have not seen any surge due to this non-payment or whatever it is. What happens is, there must be delays, but the outflow also happening in the same manner. It is consistent when we observe the numbers.
The paying in US dollars, how is it working now currently?
Earlier also actually the CICT and SAGT, both the terminals were charging in US dollars, and SLPA was charging certain amounts in US dollars, and we allowed customers to pay in rupees as well whenever at their discretion. Now what we are planning to do is, we are also following the same footstep of other two private terminals, and the amount that they could pay in US dollars, that means where the money that the shipping agent's mother company or the main line is sending in dollars, we will be collecting in dollars. But that will not have any impact on the matters that they could pay in rupees. They could continue with those things as it is.
I think it's important to understand that there is nothing that is charged locally is charged in US dollars. So local customers, local consignees have always paid and continue to pay in Sri Lanka rupees. These are monies that are payable by customers of the port, foreign customers of the port who are using the services of the port.
You all immediate clarification. You all are bidding in dollars but getting paid in rupees. Is that right? Or everybody is bidding in dollars now? How does it happen?
Port, for certain, we have hundreds of tariffs which goes into different areas.
It's
Or principally, it's throughout the history we were
Dollars.
charging in dollars. Everybody is charging in dollars.
What was the issue with the recent complaints that there were some issues with regard to billing, asking operators, is it local suppliers, local customers,
Complain in the sense of?
about because there is about paying in dollars, asking them to pay in dollars?
No, actually, it was a very thoughtful process that we did by asking the shipping lines to pay JCT also in dollars, but we make sure that we are having a stakeholder engagement. Whenever somebody is having a difficulty, they could request us for this much of month, we have rupees that we have already got earlier, and they wanted to settle those in rupees. Now we have started negotiating with them and agreeing on a time frame for those who are having difficulties. We are engaging in a business. I mean, it's not a regulatory thing that we wanted to put, and we wanted to be amicably work with them and get the thing done.
Transshipment business or it's?
No, it's nothing to do with transshipment. It's mostly the certain other charges.
That is navigation and stewarding, that is paid by the shipping agents or shipping lines. But local import-export, we, even though it is in the US dollar tariff, but converted to rupees, and they have to pay all import-export, local import-export charges, they pay in rupees.
So how does CICT and the safety charge on navigation and stewarding your report?
Navigation is provided by the port.
And you said,
No, that is a direct contract between the shipping lines and the SLPA. That's a service that is not provided by the private. So navigation means pilots and tugs.
Yes.
Those services are provided by the port.
So someone mentioned that the publicity is probably aimed at competing ports, trying to get your business. So who's actually trying to get your business?
I mean, it's not nice for a port to go and bash on another port. It's not nice. We are not in the business that they are in. But obviously, you know that in South Asia, that Colombo has made a name for the efficiency, productivity, and unmatched connectivity. Right? That is why all the shipping lines are coming over here. But all the other ports which are in the region are having a location disadvantage. Only thing what they could do is start to talk about what they don't have over here. That is why we feel that it is a planned this thing. Yeah, South Asian ports.
Yeah.
They are not direct competitors.
Yeah.
But why don't you add something?
Yeah, they are not, I think we need to understand a little bit the nature of transshipment business. It is extremely mobile. It doesn't belong, it cannot be owned by any port. It is dependent entirely on the network of the shipping lines. So if there are problems at hubs, then it is, over a period of time, those hubs can be moved to another location. And we are constantly competing with hubs in Malaysia, with Singapore, in the Gulf, for cargo that can easily move if the networks move. So if Colombo becomes inefficient, then this cargo, the transshipment cargo, which is 85% of our business, will move. Now, a lot of the regional press, the concerns stem from importers and exporters, particularly in India and in Bangladesh, because they are export cargoes. Whenever there is a delay, now shipping lines are facing delays at ports all over the world, but many people ascribe delays to the fact that they have to rely on a transshipment product rather than a direct service. So that is a lot of the reason why there is press in the region. It's not as if ports in India and Bangladesh and Pakistan are trying to compete for transshipment, but there is a real concern among shippers and importers in those locations that their reliance on Colombo is not necessarily the best thing for them, that they have to rely on a third country's port in order to get their cargo and send their cargo out. So that is where a lot of that concern stems from.
And again, adding to the same question that you asked, Colombo was ranked as the 23rd and 24th port in the world in the ranking. By 2021 also it has been ranked 24th among 370 odd ports. And we are number one in South Asia
In terms of
in terms of productivity and performance. Now, obviously, when you are the leader, you have so many things that you have to supposed to face, and we believe that is what everybody is doing at the moment. They wanted to have a sizable piece from our piece from our business, and that is why we believe that unsubstantial, not guaranteed by the numbers, these type of articles are publishing. There's no substantial reason for them to publish those articles.
In terms of freight rates, I don't know if you can comment, how is Colombo also availability of space for exporters given the global situation and the imports are declining?
At the moment, we don't have much of an issue of providing space. Actually, during the COVID period, we had some issues related to the boxes or the TUs, then empty containers. Then what we did was we worked with CASA and we asked from them who's having the empty containers, and we start publishing these details to the exporters. And we did the matchmaking between the shipping lines and the local shipping agents and the exporters, and that worked well. And at that time, CASA helped us by releasing a lot of empty containers which were planning to go out of Sri Lanka as transshipment. And we gave them special concessions, and these containers were released to the country. And that way we mitigate the issue at that time, during the COVID time. But as of now, I don't get those type of requests from anybody about shortage of containers or anything like that. And sometimes, you know, it's a business. 10 to 11 major shipping lines are running this business. And some entities are very competitive when they are running their business, and they give special rates. Sometimes when you don't have containers in that particular line, people tend to go and tell there are shortages, but it's not as an overall thing. It's about one line's availability or something like that. But the space, as of now, we don't hear much of complaint from many of the exporters or anything.
Global freight rates, how is it declining, or what is the industry thing?
Industry thing, what we have seen recently is it's globally it is staying in the same way. We have not seen any decline. It has surged and it stays in the same manner.
What are your predictions? Is it going down, or what do you think?
Very unlikely in the short term, because there are bottlenecks globally. If you look at all the major ports in Europe are backed up, and there are long delays. The west coast of the US has long delays. One or
China.
two ports on the east coast have long delays. The Chinese ports are facing COVID-related delays. So there is nothing globally that indicates that these rates are going to change. On the positive side, I would guess for Sri Lankan exporters is that freight rates are expensive all over the world. So we are placed at no less a competitive situation than other exporters around the world. And in fact, the fact of the matter is that some exporters pay a lot more, and I would think that things like our garment exports are able to compete because with much higher freight rates than the lines earn from China because of that.
From the SLPA side, you said being number one in South Asia, you need to retain this, and probably that requires investment. So how does your investment plans be affected as a result of the country's foreign exchange crisis?
The WCT or the CWIT investment is going as planned, and they have even opened up their office inside the Port of Colombo now, and they are doing the bidding process and talking to the suppliers related.
That's the West Continent.
CWIT, Colombo West International Terminal, and that is going on. And when it's come to the SLPA, we have some identified projects, ECT and the BQ warehouse development project. This also continues without any issue. As I have mentioned earlier, you all could log into slpa.lk website, and the pictorial diary of ECT development is published there. It's updated every week, and you will see how the progress is happening over there, and it is going on.
It's about nearly $1,000 million for ECT.
ECT, we are talking about around 500 odd million.
So is it, you have it in the pipeline, or how are you going to find
Yeah,
it?
we have a mechanism that we have worked out, and as of now, we don't have much of an issue with that.
And the goal development, you are thinking of clearing land and that project, how is it?
The EOI was issued, and we were planning to close the EOI by 9th of April, but due to the request from the investors, particularly from overseas investors, we have extended the timeline for July 9th. And initially it was extended till June 9th. Now there's another request which has come. What they say is they want to do a further feasibility this thing, and we are accommodating at the moment that request.
So now you have got some response.
Yes. Actually, for the initial discussion related to pre-bid meeting, there's a thing called pre-bid meeting. There were more than 18 participants who really wanted to come up with EOI.
For this ECT 500 million, how are you going to finance it?
We have internal funds, and we will be utilizing some from our cash flows. And if we feel that we need some funds, we'll be going for a facility as well.
How can you go to the market when the government has defaulted?
SLPA has not defaulted. We have been paying our dues continuously, and currently also we are servicing all our US dollar commitments and Japanese yen commitments and all those things. And SLPA is having a very resilient cash flow as well as balance sheet and a P&L.
And any new developments in the present terminal, anticipating the future developments?
Future development plan, as you are aware that we have 2020 plan and then 2023 plan. These plans are as it is, there's no change, and we are continuing doing the groundwork, certain feasibility studies and certain environmental impact studies. Those all are continuing at the moment. But currently, the major two projects as of now that we have embarked on is the ECT and the BQ warehouse development. These two are continuously going on.
Chairman, you spoke about Colombo being a reliable hub. What are your KPIs, and then what are you watching out going forward, given that the situation still remains volatile?
I will add little, then I'll ask Romesh and Jack to add because in the transshipment game they are also playing a major role. Now, one thing is the navigational timing, how long it takes a ship to come in and go out without any much of a navigational related delays. Seems to be we are excelling in that thing, we are improving, and our numbers seems to be promising and not much of an issue. And when it's come to the movement of containers unloaded and loaded to a ship, that is a KPI that all three terminals are using to see the productivity, how soon that we could complete a ship and send it back. And I think Jack or Romesh could add, you could add
Yes.
value into that.
I agree, fully agree, Chairman. So I think for running the port, also the terminal, the productivity, efficiency, and safety is always the key. And I think the three terminals, we are very proud that we are actually on the leading league in this region. In particular, CICT, I think with a new terminal and also as a deepwater terminal, we have been ranked as the best container terminal in Asia, since consecutive for 5 years, from 2017 to 2021 by Asia Cargo News. So we're very proud for that. And I think actually three terminals were working together very closely for doing the connection, ITT connection, and also for improving the productivity and also at the same time as safety as well. That has been widely recognized by the shipping industry internationally.
So I think in our respective classes, we are still performing at the top end of, at the top quartile of performance globally. CICT, the productivity that a big ship will get at CICT is no different to what it will get in Singapore or in Tanjung Pelepas. What a smaller ship will get at SAGT or JCT is very similar to what will happen in a similar sized port for that size of ship. And from an SAGT perspective, we have just invested in 2 new cranes. That was an investment of $15 million. We invested last year in 6 new rubber-tired gantries. That again was an investment of $11 million almost. And we've just completed, as part of our sustainability drive, we've completed an investment of about $18 million on converting 80% of our diesel rubber-tired gantries to hybrid gantries using Japanese technology, which will save approximately 50 to 55% of our fuel bill. I mean, in numerical terms, about 3 million liters of diesel a year, which will, thereby reducing our carbon emissions also.
You spoke about seasonality going forward. What's kind of outlook? Because I know you said Sri Lanka Colombo port is totally doesn't get impacted by the domestic situation, the volume. But you think your forecast for the rest of the year is like growth?
Yes, because year on, Colombo port is at not 100%, we are 100+%. We have already exceeded our design capacity. All terminals, we have exceeded our design capacity, especially CICT has exceeded their design capacity by a large amount. 7.25 million last year, 2021, was the highest that the Port of Colombo have ever achieved. And I'm sure this year also, the way that it is going on, we'll be able to come into the same numbers, and I don't see any reason why it should go down. We don't see any signals of slowing down.
We will see some drop in imports.
Import drops is going to be there. 2021, actually, the imports were increased, for your information, and it was increased by 10% in 2021. But we don't see that thing in 2022. But we might be able to have pace the gap with some transshipments.
I think import has been mainly because, as you know, because of the impact of shortage of the U.S. coal. But still, in January to April, it was okay. But then it's coming down in May. And as Chairman mentioned, you can see the resilience of the country and also the economy. Hopefully the import can catch up also in the next half of this year.
You said you are going to pay some dues in Chinese. So what are the public financial obligations that the SLPA currently has?
Not Chinese, what I mentioned is the dollar payments that we have taken to build the breakwater and the part of the ECT earlier. Then the cranes that we bought from Japan so many years back, the yen loans, those are kind of operative loans that we were continuing.
But
And
no
major issue. I mean, these are very, we have come into the latter level of the loans and we are paying it off, and we don't have any issue of paying them. In fact, the last year, as SLPA, we made the biggest turnover in the history, and we had a turnover of 61 billion rupees as SLPA, not about the other terminals.
There's an exponential increase in inflation. How has it affected your business operation cost and margins? The inflation trends.
So it will affect margins, definitely. increases in rupee-based costs to offset to some extent by the devaluation. But nevertheless, there will be, we are anticipating a fact that margins will come under pressure. Unfortunately, given the fact that we are a transshipment business, now our margins coming under pressure doesn't mean that we can automatically pass that on to our customers. So those are costs that to some extent we may have to absorb. But a large amount of the rupee-based costs are essentially defrayed by the commensurate devaluation.
So what are the measures that you have taken to cushion that cost and absorb it?
Obviously, we keep trying to. There's a continuous effort to improve productivity, where we take out and things like what I mentioned earlier in terms of taking out fuel costs. Now that has a direct impact in terms of contributing to cost savings. No. We don't get anything at a subsidized rate. And in fact, I think we are most of the terminals are at normal tax rates as well. So, it's a continuous effort to minimize those costs. Because we are in a globally competitive industry, we can't, just because our costs go up, we can't necessarily increase our prices.
Sorry.
Actually, it's about ECT going forward, but what is WCT? You said your terminals already stretched in terms of adding capacity. I remember 2024 was your plan.
Yes.
Given the forex situation and the policy uncertainties and all that, are you on target, or you feel that?
I still feel that we are on target, because once in every 3 weeks I monitor the progress of the civil work which is going on, and we are on target on the civil completion, and I don't see much of an issue. As of now, the contractors wanted to clarify certain things related to the government circulars and all. Then we were very clear with them that these are nationally important projects, and we are going to continue with that thing. So far, we have decided there's no change, and we are on track, and we'll be able to meet the timeline. And CWIT also has confirmed to me that they are on track with their timeline, and they will be completing their first 800 meter stretch as per the original plan.
Have you been assured by the authorities that there will be policy consistency all the time? Have you been assured by the authorities?
The authority, Sri Lanka Ports Authority is... Government has not intervened and mentioned anything, actually, but from the ministry level, they have asked us to continue the projects, and we are continuing in that way. Obviously, we are honoring to all the standard regulation which comes in without recruiting people, and all those things we adhere, but none of the projects will be curtailed or stopped, or that type of thing will happen, because these are long-term investment. If we are not going to do these investments today, the Port of Colombo will not be a sustainable place down the line in 2 to 3 years' time. Because of that, we have to do these investments. I'm sure from the very highest level of the government, that assurance is there, and they are very keen that the port-related activities are properly functioning.
Your business performance has not been affected in the last 12 months or so. That's what I get from what you said. So why should you really worry about this negative change?
Obviously, the negative, as he correctly mentioned, this could be a self-fulfilling prophecy after some time. When this continues, and when we are not responding to that, then people might think, or the media might think, that this is as a reality. We wanted to come and show and tell the world there's nothing like that, and this is the reality, and we are open for the discussion. Anybody could call us, and we always respond to them, and that is what we wanted to show. And as Port of Colombo, we are together in this game. 2 terminals, CASA, as authority, as a regulator, we all are together. That's what we wanted to show and give the assurance.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
sorry, to add on whatever Chairman said, it's also part of our obligation to let our customer, particularly our shipping principals know what is the real situation here. Because we are doing international business, we have an international customer. We do not only do domestic services. Thank you.
And meanwhile, we received 2 more questions from different media. They couldn't attend the press conference because of the weather conditions. First one is to you, sir. They are asking about a bit about Trincomalee Port and also the step that we have implemented here to clear out the malpractices like corruptions and all. First question. And the second one also, may I ask? Second one?
I could answer the first one if it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I can ask both.
Yes, yes.
Second one is about regarding the latest letter issued by CASA, and you are suggesting in the letter to continue the same management without any changes, and they are asking a bit more clarification.
The first question that you asked about the Trincomalee.
And the other regulations that you have implemented here to regularize.
Yeah, the Trincomalee Port, actually, we, as you all are aware, that we are planning to go for a EOI to develop Trinco Port as an industrial port. That means it's not only from one party. We'll be asking whoever the industrialists who wanted to come and utilize the port premises, and we have large amount of land that surrounded the port of Trincomalee, 2,400 odd hectares, and we want port-related activities to start in port of Trincomalee, and we'll be calling for EOI very soon, and we were planning to do it actually in April, but we are just delaying it till the situation comes in, because we expect a lot of local industries also will come and invest in port of Trincomalee for this industrial related these things. For the second matter related to the malpractices and all these things, we have already introduced a WhatsApp number and the dedicated phone line and all for anybody who sees any type of a malpractice by any of our agents inside the port to record it and send, and they don't have to send their names even. We will use our internal investigation units to investigate, and we have already done a couple of these type of things, and we encourage people to do this thing. Send us the information if somebody is asking money or favor or something like that. Send it directly to us, and it directly comes to the unit in the chairman's office, and it will be dealt. I'll share the number and the WhatsApp, this thing is there, and share it, Chitral, if you could give it to the press, and that would be there. And the second thing is, we have asked Auditor General and internal audits and the ministry representatives from the internal audits of ministry to participate in most of the activities related to auctioning of abandoned cargo, auctioning of uncleared cargo, and these type of things. These are the areas which we were getting complaints about malpractices and certain issues. Now we have got all these auditors, outside non-executive directors to come in to the monitoring of these activities, apart from our port employees and port internal audit and all. And we believe by doing these things, we'll be able to curb these type of situations. And whenever it's possible, we try to be transparent, and we wanted our customers also to inform us, to be a part of the game system change that we are doing over here, to be proactively telling us who is asking these type of things, and letting us take the action and curb these type of situations. Then I believe the second one is CASA.
Yeah, so on behalf of CASA, we have, part of our role is to create confidence in the Port of Colombo with our shipping lines. And we have made a lot of progress up to now in the last 2 years. We have worked with the SLPA management on several projects. Number one, on a new SOP for auctioning abandoned cargo. We have worked on the port community system, on digitizing, on an ITT system where we can have visibility. So we have done a lot of work in the last period. And we feel that at this point where so many changes are taking place and there is a lot of uncertainty, change in ministers, change in government, we want some stability in the port. And that will give that confidence to our principals. So say there's no new change, new management, new people, then all the work that has been done is just lost. So that is our request to the ministry to please maintain the management that we have worked with so far, and there's so much progress that we've been making, and to give that confidence to the customers of the port that things will be business as usual despite the crisis in the country.
Thank you. I think, sorry.
Just one last, with this current escalation in cost follow-up to this, are you all revising your charges, or how is it?
No, actually, we did already in April 1st. We did revision to the international tariffs, so whatever the things that we have. But there's no increase to any of the domestic related activities, but only for the international transshipment related this thing. So far, the shipping lines are complying with that, and they are supporting. They are supportive by accepting our increases, and that will substantially add revenue to SLPA and other two terminals balance the P&Ls as well.
Is it an annual revision?
Not annual revision, and when we feel that it has to be done, we have to do it. SLPA revision was not done for last so many years. Because of that, this April, after I assumed duty, and I discussed with MD and his team, and we decided that we have to go for a revision, and we did that thing.
Is there a way to generalize what's the increase?
It's depending. I mean, we have more than 60, 70 of tariff items. Accordingly, we have increased in par with the competitive businesses and in the region, and to keep our competitiveness in the Port of Colombo, but to have our share to our coffins. And any single question, then we could close it.
Would you be able to comment on the demurrages? And how much they are paying in terms of...
Demurrages?
Yeah.
Demurrages actually in towards end of January, we got a directive from His Excellency for us to waive off the demurrage for the people who are having issues related to dollar crisis. And how we have done that thing is we have published this thing in our websites, and what they're supposed to do is they have to first clear the shipment, then they have to come up with the relevant bank details. Bank should endorse that there is an issue related to US dollars and send us all the documents. Then we process it and we do the refund. And two private terminals also recently has mentioned that they are also considering and giving these type of refunds to whoever who's having difficulties with the US dollars. We are very proactively looking into that thing. We have received so many requests, and we are giving the waivers for most of them who are having these necessary documents in place and all. We wanted to serve the country, and this is not the time only thinking about the charges that we wanted to make, right? I think we took quite a long time, and if there's any single this thing I could answer, then we will conclude this thing. Yes. අද මේ පුවත්පත් සාකච්ඡාව අපිට තියන්න අවශ්‍ය වුණේ කොළඹ වරාය සම්බන්ධයෙන් යම් මාධ්‍යවල විශේෂයෙන්ම විදේශ මාධ්‍යවල අපි කියනවා නෙගටිව් පබ්ලිසිටි කියලා වරලා වැරදි අර්ථකථන සහ වැරදි පුවත් පළ වෙමින් තිබුණා. එවම පුවත් කිසිදු සංඛ්‍යාලේඛනයක් හෝ හේතුවක් රහිතව සිද්ධ වෙච්ච දේවල්. ඒ නිසා අපට සියලුම මාධ්‍යයන් මෙතනට කැඳවලා ඇත්ත తත්වය පහදන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තිබුණා. ඒ ඇත්ත తත්වය දැන් අපිට අපි ඔබතුමාලාට පැහැදුවා. කොළඹ වරායේ කිසිදු මෙහෙයුම් අපහසුතාවයක් නොමැතිව මේ මොහොතේදී මෙහෙයුම් කරගෙන යනවා. ඒත් එක්කම අපිට ඉදිරියේදී වුණත් ඇතිවිය හැකි සියලුම රටේ ඇතිවිය හැකි සිද්ධීන් වලින් වරායේ මෙහෙයුම් වලට හානියක් නොවන විදිහට අපි සැලසුම් සකස් කරලා තියෙනවා. එම අනුව කොළඹ වරාය ජාත්‍යන්තර ප්‍රතිනවගත කරීමේ වරායක් ලෙස තිරසාරව ඉදිරියට යන බව තමයි අපිට මේ පුවත්පත් සාකච්ඡාවෙන් කියන්න අවශ්‍ය වුණේ. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.